And somehow, we have arrived, my friends. That's right, it's WrestleMania week, and you know what we have to do because we are the super nerds. We're going to sit down and we're going to put our fantasy booking hats on, and we are trying to predict WrestleMania 41. Now, if you do enjoy this video, please do subscribe, because a bunch of wrestling content comes at you every single day, unless I'm wrestling myself, because I'm also a professional wrestler, but you can still stay up to date. I suppose we'll break it down into night 1 and night 2, because WWE has let us know which matches are going to be on which night, but at the same time, that can probably change, which has sort of been the theme for this year's WrestleMania, aside from it being in Las Vegas. So we're going to start with the Raw Tag Team titles, the New Day versus the War Raiders. This just got thrown up on social media in the week. It was like, oh, hi. We are going to do this match, which is doubly interesting because it could change on SmackDown this week. But at the moment, the SmackDown Tag Team titles are not on the show, and they are going to be defended on the Friday before the pay-per-view, PLE, which is very interesting. It's very strange. I know that WWE does do this all the time, but to me, every single championship should be defended at WrestleMania, given that it is the season ender, it's the biggest pay-per-view / PLE of the year. And maybe this ties into the fact that we just have too many titles, but I don't want to get carried away with that because I am pumped for WrestleMania and I want to focus on that, and I really do think the New Day have to win this. I do not think the WWE has capitalized on what Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods did at the latter end of last year. One of the best heel turns of the modern day, as far as I'm concerned, or one of the best heel turns ever. If you want to take it to that degree, I certainly wouldn't argue with you. That's how good I thought it was, especially because, my gosh, did we use Big E in the best possible way. And since then, they've been very entertaining and they've been very fun, but we haven't really done much with them, which has been very confusing. And of course, there's the War Raiders, who won the championships, then they had a mini feud with the Creeds for no reason, and then they disappeared into the Phantom Zone. Maybe they were destroyed by General Zod. I think a stipulation could be added to this as well, given that the New Day destroyed the War Raiders with chairs, but I am filming this before the Raw, before WrestleMania, so we'll likely find out there, but I am plumping for the New Day. I don't think the War Raiders need to win. I don't think they're in a better or worse spot if they do keep the belts or not lose the belts, just because all of the tag team belts at WWE at the moment aren't doing the best job. But if after all these months, we can finally capitalize what we did on the New Day, and they win in the worst way possible, that makes you go, you are disgusting, and I can't believe you've done that, then hopefully we can kind of light a fire under these championships. Also, I do think the New Day are one of the best tag teams of all time, so just give them the damn titles. I'm going with they. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano is also going to be on night 1. I mean, it's just Chad Gable. I know, Simon, you don't know that. Well, I do, because I am quite smart sometimes. I just think this is going to be a great match, although the interesting part is you can go two ways with this. One, Santos Americano Grande, that's not his name, Chad Gable, El Grande Americano, wins by cheating, by nefarious means. You don't want to be careful here, because I just advocated for cheating in the first match too. But the point is, even though Rey Mysterio would lose at WrestleMania, he would be protected because there would be something horrible. And at a Backlash, or if you want to extend it to SummerSlam, which I personally think is way too far, but you could do, it depends what you have in the bank, that eventually Rey Mysterio challenges El Grande to a mask versus mask match, and he whips the mask off, and everyone goes, ha ha ha, I can't believe it, even though we know who it is behind there anyway. But you could also just have Rey Mysterio win at WrestleMania, and then they pull the mask off. And actually, I'm going to go with that one. It just feels to me like this came so out of nowhere, and the build has been so wishy-washy, and there's been some controversy with it too. I kind of feel like WWE just wants to draw a line under this and move on to different things, which is probably the best idea. I mean, depending on who wins the Intercontinental Championship, Chad Gable could insert himself back into that mix as well, and even Rey Mysterio could do it. Like, if Dominic Mysterio does win the IC title, and we'll talk about that later, who doesn't want to see Rey versus Dom for a championship? I think that would be awesome. So I'll go for Rey Mysterio here. I love Chad Gable. I think he's probably the most underrated person in all of pro wrestling. But Rey Mysterio, game changer, legend. And yes, I know he's closer to the end of his career than he is to the beginning. But sometimes the good guy just has to punish the bad guy for being an absolute dickhead. And in the build, obviously, Chad Gable deliberately has been a massive penis. So I shall go for Rey Mysterio. And it's just going to be a good match. And if we give them time, and we really let them cook, to use 2025 words, it could absolutely be one of the best in-ring matches of the entire weekend. It could be incredible, because both these guys absolutely kick ass. But I am going with Rey, even though I'm not 100% sure that's true. Jade Cargill versus Naomi, the blood feud of all blood feuds. I think this match has been built brilliantly. I mean, it started, the end of last year? Probably even before that, when, as we now know, Naomi threw Jade Cargill through a car, but nobody arrested her. The cops aren't interested. They've got other things to do. Jade Cargill comes back at the Elimination Chamber, costs Naomi her opportunity there. Now, the person hanging above the ring, doesn't make any sense here, is Bianca Belair, because you have to imagine she has just been distracted at the moment with Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, because there's still some unanswered questions. Like, Naomi will talk about Bianca, and Bianca refuses to talk about Naomi. So either you are going to do that feud as well, or maybe Bianca Belair is in cahoots with Naomi, and that is what's going to transpire here. And that's why I think this match is so good, because jeopardy is what you want in all professional wrestling. You want to go, well, I don't know if this person's going to win or that person's going to win. It doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes if there is an obvious winner, it's usually because you're dying to see it, and then when you get it, you get what you want. So it's like ice cream on a Sunday morning. But here, Jade Cargill should probably win. She just come back. Obviously, WWE is trying to make her into a super duper whooper star. But Naomi's heel turn has been so wonderful and so good, it ties into one of my biggest pet peeves in sports entertainment. If you do throw your morals out the window and then lose your first match, it's a bit like, well, what did you do that for? What a waste of time. And I kind of think Naomi could win here, again, by cheating. I understand I'm turning this into a WrestleMania from the Attitude Era, all the heels cheat, but I'm trying to keep them within the context of their own matches themselves and what you could do coming out of WrestleMania. And Naomi winning, she should go after Chelsea Green's United States Championship. She really should. Chelsea Green is not a heel, as much as WWE wants to pretend she is. Everybody loves her. That belt needs a proper program around it, and Chelsea is top tier. Naomi has been top tier. I mean, she was anyway, but this heel turn has really invigorated her, and I think a great way to kind of justify that is a massive win here. And yes, if you do want to have Bianca Belair get involved, because the Bianca match is on this night or the next night. No, look at my list over here. It is the next night, which does make this a little bit more interesting, because of course if Bianca Belair comes out here and helps Naomi, you're like, well, then you already know she's a heel, and really want to keep that under wraps. So the creative team is going to have to come up with something excellent. Maybe Bianca Belair comes out. I mean, I think there's a reason these are on different nights, as I assume this strange position. But maybe Bianca Belair comes out to attack Naomi to get revenge for Jade, and of course accidentally on purpose gets it wrong, and that allows Naomi to win. You know what? Why do boring predictions? Even though I think this is actually going to be far simpler than I'm making it. Why be dull, man? Why stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne? I'm going with that one. Off the off chance I am right, then I can come in here and brag, and you can go, Simon, you're just a bored a-hole and I hate you, which is perfectly fine. I go, hey, mum and dad, how are you getting on? So that's what we do. Bianca Belair comes out, because again, her title shot isn't until night 2, and she gets involved here. She pretends she's going to hit Naomi. She misses. She smacks Jade or whatever the flub you want to do. She then puts on a big face like, I can't believe it. Naomi, I believe, has a new finisher now. It's like that lung blower thing. I think so. Her knees into the chest or something. But she hits that, or the ass to face, the rear view, whatever it's called. She gets to 1, 2, 3. Once again, I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but WWE does have patterns from time to time. Jade Cargill is protected because she loses. Naomi wins, and it turns out Bianca and Naomi planned this all along because they hate Jade Cargill for walking in and trying to be the good guy. Why she would then team with Bianca, I don't know. But again, that's for the creative team to come up with. So there is my first crazy wazy booking, but I am going for Naomi. Once again, I'm probably going to be wrong. LA Knight versus Jake for 2 is also going down for the US title. Now, there has been kind of some news today. This kind of ties into fantasy booking too. Jeff Cobb has relinquished his IWGP Tag Team title and he's leaving the company. There is no smoke without fire. He is most definitely coming to WWE, and I think that is a fabulous signing. I don't care how old Jeff Cobb is. Jeff Cobb is one of the best big men in the world. He is all about big men slapping man meat, but he's so damn agile too. And I like some of the ideas that people are throwing out there, that given that Bronson Reed is going to be back soon, and Jacob for 2 is clearly eventually going to leave the bloodline, you have Jacob for 2, you have Bronson Reed, you have Jeff Cobb as a staple. They're going to have to win all the belts, because who the flub is going to stop them? But this, again, I've done so much shenanigans here, I think I'm going to go away from it, especially because I do believe it will be Solo Sikoa versus Randy Orton. But I do think there is a way where Solo Sikoa or the bloodline trying to get involved here, and then you can separate the pack. They either try to help Jacob and screw it up and actually help LA Knight instead, meaning he retains the belt, he can go on to something else, and that's where you bring in Jeff Cobb's new recruits to have Bloodline 3.0 against Bloodline 2.0, and you would have to get another member for Solo, but again, WWE hired a load of guys like last year and we haven't used them, that maybe because we're waiting for this, or they can just help Jacob for 2 win that belt. But if these guys are coming in and you just want to get into that feud, and I just don't think you want LA Knight to lose. Like, if you take context out of it, which you can't do because it's dumb, Jacob for 2 absolutely should be winning a singles title yesterday. He's incredibly over. He's going to be in the main event. He's going to be a world champion. He's absolutely brilliant. Everything is down, right? His promos are down, his stories are down, the way he moves around is down, the way he holds himself is down. But I just don't think you want LA Knight to lose. I think LA Knight is on a bit of a precipice at the moment because that Shinsuke Nakamura feud just wasn't very good for one reason or another. So if you have this story in your back pocket, why not pull the trigger? Now, again, I am going against what we shouldn't do at WrestleMania. WrestleMania should end, not necessarily end feuds, but there should be a definitive full stop. At the moment, it's gone shenanigans. But it kind of feels to me like something that new WWE would do. And you could debut Jeff Cobb here if you wanted to, or you could wait until the Raw after WrestleMania, or the SmackDown after WrestleMania in this case. I'd be more inclined to do that because I just think it's more interesting and it's more fun. I think LA Knight is going to hold on to his title just because we have changed a lot of the championships already, or we will do throughout this night. And you don't want anyone to lose their belt because it's the law of diminishing returns. So I think the Bloodline screw over Jacob for 2. Then they have their own story, which you don't need the US title for. So you spin off into that. You get all these new members. It is then 2.0 versus 3.0. And LA Knight can then continue on holding that US championship to face whoever the flub you want to face. There's probably somebody I'm not thinking of right now, but Aleister Black is coming back. I think he's going to be on SmackDown, so it could be him. It depends if he's come back as a babyface or a heel, because of course LA Knight is a babyface. But I think if you have this story waiting in the wings, you don't need to make Jacob the US champion, especially if he has an out. Of course, once again, I am booking this Mania, copy and paste, which is why I don't work in creative anymore, which is why they kick me out the door. That's me being sarcastic. Every time I say that, somebody does believe me. But yeah, I'm just going to do another random one. I think the Bloodline get involved, because when is the Randy Orton match? We don't know, but that could be on night 2. And then we've kind of got something there as well. I mean, maybe even Randy Orton goes after the US title. I mean, that's not going to happen. But with no confidence whatsoever, I'm saying LA Knight. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair is also happening on night 1 for the SmackDown Women's title, the WWE Women's title. I don't know, man. Again, my fantasy booking for this has always been Charlotte wins, and then you do the 3-match totals. You can end it wherever you want, SummerSlam or a PLE before that. And Tiffany wins match 2 and Tiffany wins match 3. So then you've had a proper feud. Tiffany Stratton can learn and get some experience. And she's properly slayed the Queen as opposed to just beating her once and everyone's like shrug emoji. Of course, it's not worked out that way. The build has been totally crazy. Apparently, they've been shooting on each other. Apparently, they've been going off script. We don't know if that's real or if it's being worked. It really doesn't matter because it still came across as quite awkward. And if Charlotte is going to win, I then think you need a really good fallout to this, or a really good part 2, in order for it to not go completely off the rails, which is why a side of me is like, I'm now starting to think maybe Charlotte Flair should lose and Tiffany Stratton should win, and we should just move on for it. Like, it's been interesting because there's been all this sort of nonsense attached to it. But that doesn't necessarily make for a good wrestling program, and instead it's just something fascinating. It's like watching reality TV, like what are they going to do next? Although it's not reality TV, because reality TV is produced and it's basically fake, whereas I believe they did sort of get each other under each other's skin, and they went off script a little bit. I mean, we've seen it before with Becky Lynch, we've seen it with Nia Jax. It just seems to be a situation that Charlotte Flair gets herself caught up in. And if she is struggling to play the bad guy, just going off what we saw in Chicago on that SmackDown where she seemed a little bit irked by the booze, I'm not saying we should take her off TV, but I think maybe a little bit of a repackage or a little bit of a reshuffle, or sitting down and going, well, you know what, let's go left or right. But I am still going to go for Charlotte Flair just because this happened to me years ago. It's when Jack Swagger, of all people, won Money in the Bank. For ages, I'd been like, oh, I think Jack Swagger's going to win Money in the Bank at that WrestleMania. And then when I did my predictions, I went against him and I was wrong. And I've been scarred ever since. So I actually think Tiffany will probably walk away with her hand raised, but because I've been so steadfast here, Charlotte Flair will win, but we have to continue the program for at least 2 matches. But Tiffany has to win the belt back, has to do it in a convincing fashion. I still think you should do 3, because then Tiffany has 2 and Charlotte has 1 in terms of a 3-match record. But I'm not entirely sure about this. It has gone totally nuts. I mean, it's fun. And entertaining is a better word. I don't think it's necessarily fun. But there's an intrigue to it, which I think sparks your brain. But yeah, just based on the fact that I have had my head in the sand about the whole time, I go with Charlotte Flair. But I've already joked about the confidence thing. My gosh, do I have no confidence with this. And of course, make sure you let me know your predictions in the comments, especially this one, because it always flames people, which I do understand. But I think, please listen to what I say. I'm looking at it long term. And in 3 to 4 months' time, I want Tiffany Stratton to be the bigger star, or at least for us to have given her more star juice by having a proper feud with Charlotte rather than just doing a one and done. But yes, I'll go with Charlotte Flair, but again, on the quiet if it is Tiffany Stratton and we do just move on, I would not mind that at all. Gunther versus Jey Uso is also going to be on this show for the World Heavyweight Championship. I would start WrestleMania night off with this. Again, I don't know what the match schedule is going to be or the match order is going to be. I would have them both come out. I would have Gunther just copy the Sami Zayn match from last year. There's nothing wrong with that. If it works, why fix it, man? But I would have Gunther absolutely whoop this guy's ass when eventually Jey Uso has his big comeback and he just wins. If you want to involve Jimmy Uso, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, Ludwig Kaiser could get involved here, or Gunther is going to use some kind of weapon, and it's Jimmy Uso that comes down just to stop him doing that. You don't have to have any physical interaction there because you want to make sure that Jey Uso gets the win properly. But I just think it makes a good story. If you were writing a fairy tale, you'd have, and then the destroyed brother comes back to hate his sibling, and that would be totally fine. It'll make you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. So I don't mind that at all, because again, this should just be a tick box exercise in getting the crowd to react. But out of everything I'm going to predict, I think Jey Uso has to win. I don't mean to repeat myself if you are a long-term watcher of my content, which I do appreciate. And again, interact with all the stuff on the screen. And shout out to Gorilla Mind, who always support me with these videos. Go to their website and use code Simon for % off. But we've coronated him at the Royal Rumble. We've tried to turn him into a main event star. So let's just try it. It doesn't matter if it fails. But we already know that Gunther is established. Gunther is going to be a top guy for as long as he wants to wrestle. And you can get that belt back on him within 6 weeks should you want to. Kind of ties into my other, not bugbear, but something I think WWE needs to balance out, which is don't have everyone hold the championship for 742 days, because it gets a little bit boring, because it gets the law of diminishing returns. But let's give Jey Uso the belt. He'll get a massive reception in Las Vegas, and then let's see how the next few Raw goes, the next few PLE goes, and keep an eye on the numbers and the statistics and how much noise he's getting. I just love the fact that somebody like Jey Uso could be the world champion, because for 20 years we did not live in that world. Take someone like Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, right? It was pulling teeth we had to take over the show in order for him to get his win at WrestleMania, so let's not go back to that. Jey Uso did find some popularity, whether you think he's good or not. You're allowed to think that. I don't disagree, but, you know, let's go with the reaction he is getting, and let's just pull the trigger and see if it works. So I couldn't advocate for this one more. I believe it from a heart point of view, and I believe it from a head point of view. I think it's going to be wonderful. I think it's going to be a great match. I think Gunther could get a good match with anybody, but I think Jey Uso is way better than people give him credit for. This is going to be a moment. This is going to be fabulous. Jey Uso, come Monday night, is going to be the World Heavyweight Champion. Which brings us to the main event of night one, and it is a main event. I'm so bored of people saying this. Don't disparage people's opportunities, or not opportunities, but their rewards, what they've achieved, their achievements. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. The custody of Dominic Mysterio / Paul Heyman is in the balance. It is so tough to call. I think Seth Rollins could win, and that would throw a right spanner in the works. I think CM Punk could win and then go on to face a John Cena or a CM Punk, because they'll have the win here, which is huge. Roman Reigns, to me, is the least interesting person to win. Not because I don't love Roman Reigns. I think Roman is awesome, and he's excellent, and his insecurities when it comes to him as a person, because Seth Rollins screwed him over 10 years ago, is just wonderful. But the way I would do it is there should be plenty of shenanigans here as well, in the sense that WWE loves doing this in triple threat matches. Paul Heyman has to get involved, but the ultimate result, I don't know 100% what you do with Heyman, but the ultimate result is CM Punk getting the pin over Roman Reigns when Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman have done something either on purpose or stupid or by accident. That's something we're going to have to figure out, because the way I see it is then CM Punk can then go challenge John Cena for things we'll talk about in 1 second. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins can then spin off and finish their feud properly, because we never had the final one-on-one match. So again, Seth Rollins has to be involved here. And he did say to Roman, you're going to regret this. So it does sort of play into the story. But also, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns is going to be a match that happens eventually. And I think on the first one of those, because I think we'll extend it for a few bouts, Roman Reigns will win. And if Roman Reigns pins CM Punk, then you have parity. And again, it comes to backstage politics. Punk pins Roman Reigns here, and then Roman Reigns can pin Punk down the line. And then it does kind of make match 3 or match 2, however you want to see it, more interesting. I do think Paul Heyman will probably side with CM Punk, just because I don't think anybody wants to boo Paul Heyman. Not that Roman Reigns is a heel. I just think it comes down to the fact that Roman Reigns has been affiliated with Paul Heyman for so long. Let's change it up. It's just going to be really delicate in order to do this and not turn Punk into a heel. Unless maybe you want to turn Punk heel. I don't know. Maybe Cody Rhodes is going to win and you're going to do that. I just think you're kind of swimming upstream there, because fans at the moment don't really feel like they want to boo Punk. If there's anybody that could get the heat, it would be CM Punk. But I actually think you could run this babyface thing out for a little bit longer before you need to do it. Anyway, I am going with CM Punk. I am going with CM Punk to feud with whoever wins the main event on night 2. And I also think by SummerSlam, if not before, we will be knee-deep into the Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns feud. And one of them will get a big victory there. And oh my gosh, you could even re-involve Paul Heyman there. Do not forget, that is an option here too, that Paul Heyman sides with Seth Rollins. I do think Seth Rollins should be a super duper whooper mega heel coming out of this. I don't necessarily think it should be with Paul Heyman. Unless Paul Heyman cut some kinds that screws over Roman. I don't know. But I'm going with CM Punk. I think CM Punk should get the win here. I think that's the most interesting of the three, especially because you have two megastars that can go into their one-on-one feud. But it's brilliant. And I can understand why this is the main event, because when you go through the entire card, they are the biggest stars. And maybe Triple H learned from WrestleMania 18, when you had The Rock versus Hogan, whenever the flub it was, and then Triple H and Jericho went on. Triple H and Jericho is not actually that bad of a match. It just struggles because of what had come before it. If you switch them, I think we'd have a massive different opinion of WrestleMania 18. So it's smart that Triple H is doing this. But that's right. I've made my decision. Paul Heyman and CM Punk will be the best of friends. CM Punk is going to win. And I'm taking it one step further here too. He is going to pin Roman Reigns. Right, moving on to night 2. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. Absolutely irks me that the IC Championship, the Women's IC title, is not being defended, but we talked about that on other videos. It's nice and simple. Liv and Raquel have to win here because they're the real tag team. And actually, because I think we do need a massive IC title program coming out of the back of this, Bayley should turn on Lyra Valkyria as she teased on Raw or SmackDown or whatever the flub it was, and then we get into it properly with heel Bayley beating Lyra Valkyria for that title, and then they can sort of switch it back and forth for a while. I don't think Bayley's babyface run has been treated right by WWE. Again, maybe that's a different video for a different day. I just think we could have done more. But sometimes you just have to look at the situation or the environment that lays ahead of you, and it's time. Like, it really is. Bayley's win last year was awesome over Io Sky, but 12 months can be a long time in pro wrestling. But yes, Liv and Raquel are the real tag team here. They should win. And please, for the love of everything, pick another team after this and have them ready, because every single tag team championship that we've already touched upon has not been treated in the right way, for lack of a better term. So I shall keep my fingers crossed here. But Bayley will go bad guy. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will win. Liv will do that laugh. That's the Seth Rollins laugh. You know what I mean. The laugh she does. But just make it happen, man. Keep it nice and simple. Although, once again, have I booked a lot of shenanigans? Yes, I have. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I mean, this one I actually needed to see raw, because I think AJ Styles will beat Karrion Kross. I think Logan Paul could win here after Karrion Kross screws over AJ Styles, and then you go knee deep into the AJ Styles versus Karrion Kross feud, which again I don't mind. Karrion Kross being featured more on TV is no bad thing, but in no world am I ever going to vouch for Logan Paul winning a match, especially against AJ Styles at WrestleMania, because AJ Styles is a game changer, a legend, one of the best of all time. I don't mind Logan Paul being a wrestler, but he just irks me, which probably makes him a great heel, right? But sometimes I can blur the lines between fiction and reality, so I'm going with AJ Styles. I do think this match will be great, because Logan Paul will practice it beforehand, and AJ Styles is so amazing that if he is allowed to go into a ring and rehearse it with Logan Paul, can you think what he's going to come up with? And Logan Paul quite clearly is really good at sort of following the leader, for lack of a better term, and AJ Styles will be the ring general, to use those terms. So this is going to be really good. It just is, and it will be absolutely entertaining, but I can't live in a world where Logan Paul beats AJ Styles. Again, would a Logan Paul ever beat a Roman Reigns? No. Would he ever beat a Seth Rollins? No. And that's the way we booked it. Like, would he ever beat a Randy Orton? No. And you can argue that AJ Styles isn't on that level, but that's how I see him. So AJ Styles is going to win, even though I don't actually think that's correct. Men's IC title match, I think, has absolutely come into its own, mostly because at one point WWE was teasing we're just going to do multi-person matches, and instead they just gave that to NXT. They didn't do it at WrestleMania. Well, there are a few, but there's nowhere near too many of them at all. But Braun Breaker, the champion, versus Penta, versus Dominic Mysterio, versus Finn Balor. I understand that I'm doing way too much drama here, but I just think it's right there. And Dominic Mysterio should screw over Finn Balor, which obviously has been the tease for ages, split up the Judgment Day, pin him, and the Condom becomes the IC champion. Now that is brilliant, because of course Braun Breaker could be like, excuse me? And I understand him losing but not being beaten for the title is dumb, but it's the best part of wrestling, when you can be super duper ridiculous. But it also means Penta can be peeved, which sounds like the name of my new EP. So you could start going into matches where these four keep feuding, because of course Finn Balor's going to be mad as well, because his former best friend just screwed him over. But it's kind of fallen in our laps, this. And Dominic Mysterio is going to turn himself babyface eventually anyway. Maybe this actually helps, but I think it's time to make him a champion. I think it's completely different to what we've done with any other kind of title right now. Maybe Chelsea Green to a point, but he's going to be someone that's scared of everyone and likely doesn't want to defend that belt. But I just think that makes it fun. He'll have to deal with Finn Balor, have to deal with Penta, have to deal with Braun Breaker. Maybe you take it off Braun Breaker, so he's going to start feuding with someone that's of a bigger level, and we start getting him ready for the World Championship, because why the flub not? You always want to make sure there's new people waiting for those spots. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be entertaining, and absolutely, I'm putting all my faith and all my worth behind Dominic Mysterio. I think it would be hilarious. You also draw a line under the Judgment Day stuff, which we absolutely have to do. I guess they're going to get a new member as well, whoever the flub that is going to be. And it protects Braun and Penta. This, to me, ticks all of the boxes, and I think it could be absolutely a massive hoot. And Dominic Mysterio as the Intercontinental Champion, and also, he doesn't need to hold the belt for that long, which goes back to my last point. Somebody is going to have to be the sacrificial lamb here, where they only hold it for like 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks. Dominic Mysterio can do that and get away with it, because Dominic Mysterio is flipping fire. I'm going with Dom. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, I think is quite cut and dry. I love Damian Priest. I think he's underappreciated, but it is a street fight. This will be one of the matches of the weekend, because the build has been so simple but so good. But I think that Drew McIntyre has to win. And I think Randy Orton will win his match as well. I want to throw that in there, because I think that Cody, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, will need some people to feud with to keep his eyes off the WWE title. And Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton are the perfect people to do that. And whatever, guys, maybe more so Drew McIntyre until we want to turn Randy Orton and do his feud with Cody. And Drew McIntyre winning here just justifies that. And then he can justify that himself by saying, well, if I beat Cody Rhodes, a former champion, I can get a championship shot. It wouldn't surprise me if at one point Cody was coming out of WrestleMania with the title, and that's what Drew was being prepared for. Hence why he got moved to SmackDown. But it doesn't matter, right? These things change all the time. It is pro wrestling. It'll be a great match. They'll do it one, at least crazy bump. Drew McIntyre can do something appalling to get the win, and that is fine. And then he goes after Cody Rhodes. So I am picking Drew McIntyre, but no more being horrible about this match. Those two guys have done great work both in 2024 and 2025. They've turned themselves into mega stars, and you can argue that maybe they should be higher up the card, but the fact they're together, I think this one is going to kick ass. When, yes, we've kind of teased the last two matches, but we'll get into it anyway. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. The build has been crazy, the build has been silly, the build has been ridiculous, but I'd be lying if I told you I didn't get some entertainment from it, even though it's been nuts and WWE could have kept it far simpler. I mean, based on what I've already told you on night one, yeah, I think Naomi gets involved here, and Bianca Belair becomes the champion, and then you kind of merge all these things together. I don't think that means Bianca Belair has to leave Raw. I just think you can have Naomi running wild on SmackDown and Bianca Belair running wild on Raw. And again, sometimes they do blur the lines with the brand split that doesn't exist. And we're going to get a draft soon after WrestleMania 2, so maybe that can tie in as well. It's difficult because Io Sky winning would do a lot for her in terms of her star power. She's a terrific pro wrestler, but I think Bianca and Rhea are kind of higher up there. I don't think you need to give the title back to Rhea just yet, because she only lost it a few weeks ago. And if Bianca Belair is about to go heel, again, this is my huge gamble and my huge guess, but if she is about to go bad guy, then of course she needs to do something in order to justify all that. It goes back to my point about people turning heel and becoming the champion and being like, well, I told you I was going to do what I had to do. And it also, it's one of these wonderful stories where she becomes like a Drew McIntyre. Rhea Ripley's actions have not been ideal from a professional point of view, and maybe that pushed Bianca to the edge, because why didn't Adam Pearce just go, no, you're not allowed to do this, you lost, deal with it. If everybody else is going to have tomfoolery, then I'll just be the ultimate tomfoolery, and then you can kind of continue on these feuds in whatever way possible, because I want the one-on-one match between Bianca and Io, and I want the one-on-one match between Bianca and Rhea. I actually think you can save that to SummerSlam, and I think it would be massive, because if you think these two people worked before, they have wonderful chemistry. They should be teaching science. But WWE are lucky, because whoever does win or lose, they're going to be fine. So it's the creative way that we get there. But I'm a huge fan of this, again, despite of all the crazy build stuff. But I'm going to pump for Bianca Belair, just because, again, I think that's the funnest one. I think it's more entertaining. I think it creates more news headlines. And it's been about time, right? She spent all of 2024 on the tag team vision, trying to elevate that and elevate Jade Cargill. So Bianca Belair has earned something. And again, I think she's still a wonderful babyface, but it makes sense to try something new. Let's just give it a go. It's Jey Uso all over again. Even if you do it for 6 months, man, it didn't work out as much, you just change it, and Bianca Belair ain't going to not benefit from it. She's Bianca Belair. She's a star. This is going to rule. I'm going for her. Which brings us to our main event of night 2, which I still think is wonderful. Heel John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE title. Of course, John Cena is going for record number 17. It's just brilliant, and it's great, and I can't believe we're here. I think some of us have forgotten just because, and you don't have to be on board, but people think the 3 promo offs they did have were a little bit wishy-washy. I just love them because, again, I felt like I entered the Phantom Zone. I don't understand how I got here, and I want to live here for the rest of my life. John Cena has to win. I don't think you can turn the biggest good guy for the last quarter of a century heel and not tie into my pet peeve that we talked about 72,467 times here. I do think The Rock will be at WrestleMania. I do think The Rock will be involved, and I do think Steve Austin will come out and give one of these guys a stunner, so the last thing you see at WrestleMania 41 is Steve Austin and Cody Rhodes, which essentially tells you, don't worry that Cody lost the belt. He's still the guy. He's still the number one babyface. And here's the other number one babyface ever endorsing him, much like John Cena did last year. Now, I understand that's fantasy booking up the wim wham. I understand if you're rolling your eyes. I understand if you're going, Simon, you're such a geek. How could you dare say that? But I don't want to do dull predictions. My dull prediction is that John Cena is going to win, right? But I think you deserve more than that if we are going to have a conversation here on YouTube. So I'm throwing in The Rock, I'm throwing in Steve Austin. That is what we were meant to do at WrestleMania 40. Again, just go and read all of the reports. I don't think Undertaker was the initial plan. And doing it here may be even better still. And I just think it's going to be awesome, especially because Steve Austin's already at the Hall of Fame, getting his Bret Hart match inducted on the Friday night or the Saturday night, whatever the flub it is. Sometimes I just think you should do over-the-top stuff to make people pop, and I will be there in the arena. I'll be the happiest man of all time, to the point I will probably retire. You can then do John Cena versus CM Punk, which is a program that people have been desperate for. Austin will go away. Again, he'll stun The Rock probably, and it'll be the greatest thing ever. And then he can go feud with Drew or Randy or whoever the flub, probably one of those two. And Sami Zayn has to get back involved here too, so maybe he can be the person to sort of take one of these guys away if we want to stick to singles matches. But I do think that would be a wonderful end to WrestleMania 41, especially because it make you go, well, now I better tune into Raw and I better tune into SmackDown because I need to see what's going to happen. So maybe we have changed WrestleMania a little bit. Maybe it's less of an ender and it's more of we do these huge angles, which can sort of take you through to SummerSlam, which is a two-night main event, a two-night event, I should say. It is officially hot WrestleMania. So this ticks all the boxes for me. It makes all the sense in the world. I am plumping for John Cena, which brings us to the end of our WrestleMania predictions. There may be some other matches added, but this is what we do have on paper, but we can always revisit it later in the week. But for now, the comments are there. I need your predictions. They're way more important than mine, so drop them below. And if there's somewhere crazy, that's good too. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is me talking about everything that did happen on SmackDown recently, and please click that notification and subscribe button. I think I just said that. I've said it again. If you are into supplements and fitness, go to grillermind.com/Simon. You go to Simon, you can get 10% off. These are great supplements. I use them. They're brilliant. I promise you they work, so you check them out. Patreon.com/Simon316, Simon316 on social media, Simon Miller on Cameo for personalized video messages, Simon J. Miller on TikTok, ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller and Simon.BigCartel.com for merch. I appreciate all the support and enjoy these days, my friends. WrestleMania comes but once a year, so the whole point is to have a good time. I shall see you throughout the week. Take care. Goodbye.